How you doing, Mr. Servan?
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello. Oh, good. Thank you.
Good.
It's now 6:30. I'd like to call to order the Regional Planning Commission public hearing for Thursday, November the 4th. And as we always customarily do, we'll start it off with a pledge, and I'd ask Mr. Peterman to lead us in the pledge. And as we always do at the beginning of the meeting, I ask if you have any kind of electronic device or cell phone or whatever that you either turn it off or put it on vibrate so it won't disturb our meeting as we go into it. Sarah, now I ask you to call the roll and determine the quorum.
Mr. Peterman?
Here.
Mr. Servan?
Present.
Mrs. Karcher?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here, Davis.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 7 present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. You all have the agenda in front of you for tonight's meeting. If there's no changes or anything, I'd like to call for a motion to accept the agenda.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Sarah, please call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Servon?
Yes.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Spanarelli?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
So you have 7 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
I thank you very much, and we'll come right back to you for the introduction and public hearing instructions.
Thank you. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the Regional Planning Commission. Everyone will have a chance to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room. All testimony given shall be sworn or affirmed. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. The record will remain open for 2 business days after the hearing. For each application before the commission, the chairman will introduce the application. Then the applicant or representative will be given 15 minutes to present the application. Following that, those in favor of the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. Then those opposed to the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. When everyone has had an opportunity to give testimony, the hearing on the application will be closed. No decision will be made by the Planning Commission tonight. The Commission will hold a public business meeting next Wednesday, November 10th, 2021, at 6:30 p.m., at which time it will make a decision on the applications heard tonight. All information of record will be considered, and a common vote of 4 members of the Commission will be required to make a decision. Anyone may attend to the business meeting, but no new testimony will be received. The public notice of this hearing was published on October 15th, 2021 in the Delaware State News, and the Kent County Levy Court will hear these applications on Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. Unless tabled by the Commission or withdrawn prior to the Levy Court hearing, the Levy Court also meets in this room. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll now get into our public hearing. First application is C-21-06. Applicant and owners is Dale and Kaylin Lepore, 318 Springdale Lane, Felton, Delaware, 19943. Property location is 318 Springdale Lane, Felton, Delaware, 19943. Present zoning district is AC, Agriculture Conservation. Relation to the growth zone. Inside, present use is residential. Proposed use, the same with an accessory dwelling unit. Levy Court District is 4th, Eric Buxton. School District is Lake Forest. Fire District is Federica Station 49. It's 0.29 acres on the south side of the intersection of Springdale Lane and Kenmount Lane, west of Federica. Is there someone here to represent this application? Please come to the mic.
If there's someone online that would like to comment on this application, please raise your hand by pressing *3 if you're on the phone, or pressing the raise hand icon.
I'll call one more time for the Dale and Kaylin Lepore, application C-21-06. Is there someone here to represent that application? So, Sarah, we haven't had one of these in a long time. What is your recommendations?
I think the Commission has the choice of effectively using the documents provided to you as the record. You can certainly keep the hearing open and ask if there's anyone in favor or opposed, or presumably you could simply continue the hearing until next month, whatever you're comfortable with.
If the other commissioners don't have a problem with it, they've been able to read the application and asking about the applicants, if they're not here, I could ask if there's anybody else here supporting this application. Is there anybody besides the applicant or the owner supporting this application? Does any of the commissioners have any questions they'd like to ask Sarah or anybody from staff about this application? Seeing none on that, I will go to the other side. Is there anyone here opposed to this application? Anyone here opposed to this application? Third and final call. Is there anyone opposed to this application? We have somebody on the phone?
So we'll just make one final request on the WebEx. If you would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this application, please raise your hand or press star 3 and star 6 to unmute. I see no hands raised on WebEx at this time.
So at this time, we'll take this application up next week. Next application on tonight's hearing is actually application title number C-21-07, Training Tales. Applicant is Thomas G. Moore Sr., Training Tales LLC, 83 Intergrove Drive, Clayton, Delaware, 19938. Owner is Martha Weaver, trustee, 6 Manor Drive, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977. Additional contact is Lorena Hartnett, 948 West South Street, Smyrna, Delaware, 19977. Property location is 558 Hopewell Drive, Clayton, Delaware, 19938. Present zoning district is AR, agriculture residential. Relationship to the gross zone is outside. Present use is residential. Proposed use, same with a dog training and dog daycare facility. Levy Court District is the first, Joanne Maston. School District is Smyrna. Fire District is Clayton, Station 45. Area and location, 3.5 plus or minus acres, located on the east side of Hopewell Drive, approximately 1,767 feet south of Underwood's Corner Road, and approximately 2,729 feet north of Chance Road, west of Kenton. Is there someone here to represent this application? Please come to the mic. You'll need to give your name, and then you will be sworn in by our attorney.
My name is Thomas Moore. I live at 83 Integro Drive, Clayton.
Yeah, pull that up as close as you can to your mask. We didn't hear your name, sir.
Thomas Moore, 83 Integro Drive, Clayton, Delaware.
Mr. Moore, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
I do.
Thank you.
Go right ahead, sir. Let us know what's happening. There might be some questions from the commissioners.
Okay. I don't know if you're aware, I do this now at 1216 Wheatley's Pond Road. That property is about 3 acres. The gentleman that owned it, Al Moses, sold the property. The gentleman who's there now has agreed to let me stay until I find somewhere, but he really doesn't want a tenant. We were able to locate this property. It's a little further out on what I call in the country. It's a bigger piece of property. It has a lot more buffer around it. It has a lot more room. This operation is going to be the same, daycare for dogs and training.
You're aware of the staff recommendations and all that they have quoted in the application?
Yes, yeah, it's no different than what I do now, so I have no issues with any of the
And
recommendations.
in your new location, what will be your hours and days of service?
It's 7 to 6, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays, we usually work half a day, giving lessons, no daycare.
So that'd be 7 to 12?
Yeah, roughly, yes.
And there will be no boarding or overnight caring for the dogs, correct?
Other than my dogs, no.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the other commissioners. Does any of the commissioners have any questions either here or on the phone for this gentleman? Denise?
I'm just curious. I will be driving by because I live up in Smyrna. But the requirement for the parking places, and it's right out front, are the trees, I mean, I'll be driving there to find out, but, you know, we want these conditional approvals for something like this to be as if you don't really know it's there for a neighborhood.
Okay.
And my concern is that all these parking places in the front are right at the street. I suspect they won't really actually be used much. Can you give me a little bit more of an idea about this? Because I don't like that being right at the street.
Okay. There's a regulation for 160 square feet of space, indoor space, I guess, that you need a parking space for. That's for retail and stuff like that. I don't do that. My business is drop off, pickup, except the occasional lessons that we do. So we might have at most 6, 7 cars on site at a time. The reason I blocked off that area in the front yard is if for some reason I needed to park, I do have the room, but it's not the business I run. It's not a retail business.
So it's not going to be paved or anything like
No.
that? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Any other commissioners, either here or on the phone, have any questions for the owner? Seeing none, I thank you for your presentation, and we'll proceed with the other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone else here in favor of this application would like to speak? Anyone else in favor? Last call for in favor. Anybody else in favor of this application would like to speak? Is there anyone opposed to this application and would like to speak? Anyone opposed to this application would like to speak? Third and final call.
If there's anyone online that would like to comment on this application, please press star 3 if you're on the phone, or the raise hand icon. I see no hands on WebEx at this time.
Seeing that, this application will continue with it next week. Thank you. Our next application and title is CS-21-07, ProCut Tree Services. Applicant and owner is Calvary Church of the Nazarene, 1818 North Creek Road, Dover, Delaware, 19901. Additional contact is ProCut Tree Services, attention William Darby, P.O. Box 331, Little Creek, Delaware, 19961. The engineer is Century Engineering Incorporated. Attention Alex Schmidt, P.E., 550 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware. Comprehensive plan map designation is low-density residential. Present zoning district is AC, agriculture conservation. Relation to the growth zone is outside. Present use for the parcel 01.01 is residential. Parcel 01-05 is church. Proposed use, parcel A is church with rectory and youth center. Parcel B is landscaping and horticulture services. Water is public water. Sewer is on-site septic shared. Levy Court District is the third, Mr. Allen Angel. School District is Capital. Fire District is Little Creek. Combined 14.45 plus or minus acres located on the south side of North Little Creek Road, approximately 445 feet east of Fox Road, and approximately 2,467 feet west of Long Point Road, south of Dover. Is there someone here to represent this application? Please come to the mic, give us your name and address, and you will be sworn or affirmed.
Dana Dunphy, 550 Bay Road, Dover, Delaware, 19901.
Do you swear or affirm tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
I'm here representing William Darby and the Calvary Church for the ProCut Tree Services property, where we're proposing a conditional use to provide horticultural services for William Darby's ProCut Tree. With the site plan, we're proposing to have access coming off of Little Creek Road and the required parking spaces as well. And the landscaping will show that we are screening from the adjoining properties.
Go right ahead.
We're also providing the 75-foot buffer area for the materials and storage, required handicap spaces, loading spaces. We are asking for a waiver for the sidewalk along the frontage, and I believe the planning department had granted that. We are going to share a septic with the church.
So the ProCut's going to do their own services off of the land that you actually occupy, correct? You're going to have a
Correct.
joint use.
Correct.
And I do notice on your drawing, and customarily they make those kind of things cut off. And I don't know, sir, did you address the dirt road in the back for the dirt entrance where it goes across the back of the property? What is that actual dirt lane for?
I believe in the past it was just used for access for the adjoining property, because I believe it's a farmland, to access it.
Okay, will they have to close that entrance off, sir, because it isolated to this parcel, or would it be okay to keep it?
I think ultimately that's the choice of the property owner.
Okay, because I didn't know if it was coming up before us, whether that was condition of part of the condition or not. Just a question.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be.
Okay. Ma'am, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Me neither, I tell you. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. I do have a question. Hold up. I forgot to ask the commission. We got to laughing there. Is there anybody on the phone or up here that has a question for this applicant? Denise, go ahead.
There have been two entrances to this one parcel of land that's sort of going to be two for a long time.
I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering about the fact that there are two entrances now and have been for a while. That is correct?
The one entrance for the church, that is the current entrance that Mr. Darby uses to access his buildings in the back. Then there is the existing entrance for the rectory building.
So the ProCut is done literally through the parking lot of the church. Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. All right. So Del Dot's okay with all that?
I believe they're going to put their own entrance in as part of this project.
Right. So when we have our conditional use approval, then we'll move forward with the site plan submission and where we would submit to Del Dot for an entrance.
Oh, so they'll be back again. Oh, okay. Thank you. Never mind.
Yeah, because Del Dot, I know customarily only allows one entrance on a parcel.
Just to be clear, they won't be back here. This is to approve the site plan. What she's referring to is they'll create an entrance plan for Del Dot for their approval.
Right.
Okay. Is there anyone on the phone of the commissioners that has a question for this applicant? Or anyone else here at the table?
Mr. Servon.
Go ahead there, Mr. Servon.
Yes, I had a question. Does ProCut presently occupy space in the back?
Yes.
So you're just trying to expand the space, and is it leased to them?
I didn't understand.
Could you repeat the question?
Is that space in the back of the lot leased ProCut?
Is it leased?
Or,
Yeah, I believe there's some sort of arrangement at this point. The purpose of this plan is to legalize the use. I believe also to enable a subdivision.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
So if this is approved, they'll have to have inside storage for all their equipment, am I correct?
I'm sorry?
They'll have to have inside storage for their equipment and not be able to put it around a lot like they presently have it?
No, what the ordinance says is they can have outdoor storage, but it has to be screened from surrounding properties and from the right-of-way.
Okay, so, and she has mentioned that she is going to do that and take care
Right.
of
Our,
that.
our landscape plan that we submitted shows the screening.
So you're okay with all the staff recommendations and what they talked about?
We are.
Okay, is anybody else in the commission? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in favor of this application would like to speak? Come to the mic, give your name, your address, and you can either be sworn or affirmed.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Spangenberg. I live at 921 Appleberry Drive in Smyrna, Delaware.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I speak on behalf of the church. I am the church board secretary. In essence, that makes me in charge of the church in the absence of a pastor. And so this matter has come before the board. The board fully supports this plan. We have had about 20 years, maybe more, certainly since I've been there, and that's 16 years, of a good relationship with Mr. Darby and ProCut Trees. We fully support what he's trying to do, and we want him to succeed.
I thank you very much. Does anybody on the commission or on the phone have any questions for this young lady? Seeing none, I thank you for commenting. Is there anyone else here in favor of this application would like to speak? If not, I'll go on the against. Is there anyone here that's against this application would like to speak? Anyone against? Is there anyone here against this application would like to speak? If not, we'll take this application up next week. Thank you. Our next application is C-21-08, application title, Sunrise Land Delaware, LLC. Applicants, Dan Baller, P.O. Box 898, 6408 Churchill Road, Chestertown, Maryland, 21620. Owners, Sunrise Land Delaware, LLC, P.O. Box 898, 6408 Churchill Road, Chestertown, Maryland. I don't know if I said that before or not. I might have made a mistake. I think I said Maryland, but we'll get that straight this time, 21620. Engineer is the Pelsa Company, care of Julian A. Pellegrini, P.E., 610 People's Plaza, Newark, Delaware, 19702. Zoning district is AR, Agriculture Residential. Comprehensive Plan MAC designation is Low Density Residential. Relationship to the growth zone is outside. Present use is agriculture and residential. Proposed use is agricultural and residential with solar panels. The project consists of the construction of a fenced solar array field occupying approximately 3.2 plus or minus acres on the 25-acre subject site. Water is well, sewer is septic, levy court 6th district, Mr. Howe. School district is Capital, fire district is Hartley, Station 51. Area and location is 25.0 plus or minus acres on the southeast side of the intersection of Slaughter Station Road, County Road 182, and Hourglass Road, County Road 103, south of the town of Hartley. Is there someone here to represent this application? Is there anybody on the phone to represent this application?
Yes, sir. This is Dan Balger with Sunrise Solar.
Is there any way you can turn that up, Mark? I can't hear it.
So, Dan, you may give your name and address for the record and be sworn in.
Dan Balger, 6408 Churchill Road, Chestertown, Maryland.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Go ahead with your presentation, sir.
Yes, we're proposing to do solar here, and all the solar that will be produced here will be used by the customers that hired us to install the solar. That's the one difference from the mega farms that you're seeing. It's actually being used by the customers themselves. It's not being used put back on the grid for whoever's use. But yeah, I also do have the owner of Sunrise Land Delaware here as well, if you have any questions for him either.
Yes, my name is Richard Stolfus, and can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we want to finish with the testimony of Dan first, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Stolfus.
Okay, sorry about that. But no, that's pretty much it.
Is there anybody on the commission has any questions for this gentleman on the phone? Anybody here or on the phone of the commissioners that have any questions? Seeing none, I will now go back to the phone for another gentleman that's in favor of this project, and we'll give your name and your address, and you can be sworn or affirmed by our attorney.
Mr. Stolfus, you may unmute yourself and proceed. Give your name and address for the record.
Yes, so Richard Stolfus, 6408 Churchill Road, Chestertown, Maryland.
Mr. Stolfus, do you
I
swear?
want to just make it.
Excuse me, sir. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
So I wanted to just put a note in there that we are planning on putting extra buffering around the property, even though it is inside a natural buffer. We are going to add additional buffer to it, and then we're also going to use the land as farmland inside the solar. So we're going to use a local gentleman that's going to graze sheep inside that solar system to keep it as farmland.
So that's why you're proposing the 4-foot tall no-climb fence. That's because of the animals inside the structure, correct?
Correct.
Did staff have any concern with that type of fence and all? Very good.
Not.
I thank you, sir. I'll go back and ask on the phone, is there anybody else there or in-house that supports this project and would like to speak?
If there's anyone who's joining us by phone, please press star 3 to raise your hand, star 6 to unmute.
Sir, you're in favor of this project?
Yes, yes, let's go with yes.
Don't give any comments yet. Give your name, address, and be sworn or affirmed, please.
My name's Anthony Ridgie, 971 Hourglass Road, Hartley, Delaware, 19953.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead with your comments.
So I live right across the tax ditch from where the proposed solar arrays are. I have no issue with the proposal. My biggest concern is with the proximity to the tax ditch and the maintenance right away of the tax ditch. That would be my major concern, is that they're working with the tax ditch managers of the Hartley tax ditch as well as the Kent Conservation District to make sure that that maintenance right away is kept up, because that is a one-sided maintenance and the drainage is pretty important out there.
I guess they'll be applying to the tax ditch to reduce the right-of-way maintenance, correct, staff? Because part of the array is in the tax ditch maintenance right-of-way.
May I speak on behalf of that? This is Dan with Sunrise Solar.
Okay, because they can apply to the tax ditch manager and get that reduced. As long as they work with them, you're okay with it.
Yes, I just want to let you know that that has been done already and it has been recorded. That's where you see that 120-foot line there that goes about a little over halfway back.
Yes, I saw it.
50 foot. Now it's currently all 50 feet all the way out to the road.
Yeah, I know you can get that done. I guess that's okay with you, sir, at the mic?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, then. Anybody have any questions for this gentleman at the mic? Thank you. Now I'm going to go to the against side. Is there anybody here that's against this project and would like to speak? Anybody here against the project and would like to speak? Third and final call. Anyone here against the project and would like to speak? Anybody on the phone?
If there's anyone joining us by phone and would like to speak against this application, please press star 3 and star 6 to unmute. I see no callers on WebEx at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll be taking this particular application up next week. Our next application is actually ordinance number LC 21-18, application number and name CZ-21-07, Schwartz Messick Enterprises, LLC. Applicant is John Schatzschneider, 705 Andrewville Road, Harrington, Delaware, 19952. Owner is Schatz Messick Enterprises, LLC. Present zoning comp plan map designation is AR, agriculture residential, low density residential. Proposed zoning and comp plan map designation is BG, business general, highway commercial. Relation to the growth zone is inside. Levy court district is Mr. Howe. School district is Lake Forest. Fire district is Harrington, Station 50. Area and location, 1.58 plus or minus acres. Located on the west side of the intersection of South DuPont Highway, Delaware Route 13, and Delaware Avenue, County Road 81, 160 feet west of the intersection of Jackson Ditch Road, County Road 430, and South DuPont Highway, north of Harrington. Is there somebody here represent this application? Please come to the mic, give us your name and your address, and you can be sworn or affirmed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Schatzschneider, 705 Andrewville Road, Harrington, Delaware, 19952.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
Go right ahead with your presentation.
Yes, we purchased this property intention of using it for offices, and we went through a conditional use which wasn't allowed for that type, so we had to go through the process of transferring it into commercial property. My son and myself, we own multiple properties and multiple businesses. We're growing and we need office space. We currently have an office in Milford, which we've definitely outgrown. We're looking for a place on the highways that had the visibility to open up the offices. We purchased this 1.58 acres on a foreclosure sale. The house is basically was in distressed mode. It's approximately 80 to 90 years old. It was an old Sears package home. So it does have some history to it as well, and we want to renovate it, rehab it. That's what we do, and bring it back to life and make an asset to the county and the outside property of Harrington.
Is anybody on the commission here at the table or on the phone have any questions? Yeah, I have a little history with that house. One of my teachers at Harrington High School lived there when I went to school 100 years ago.
Wow.
Anybody on the phone, Mark?
I see no hands raised on WebEx at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Schatzschneider. We'll move on with the application.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody here didn't have no questions either, correct? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that is in favor of this application would like to speak? Anyone else here in favor of this application and would like to speak? Is there anyone opposed to this application? Anyone opposed to this application? Third and final call. Anyone opposed to this application? If not, we'll be taking this application up next week. Thank you very much for your presentation. Now we'll move into our plan number and title. It's SSL-21-02 Patriots Crest. Location, located on the east side of South State Street, approximately 642 feet north of Banning Road and approximately 1,028 feet southeast of Locust Grove Road, northwest of Magnolia. Owner applicant is Shift Land Development, LLC. Attention, TJ Schiff, 16054 South DuPont Highway, Harrington, Delaware, 19952. Engineer is Phil L. Tolliver, P.E., Morrison Ritchie Associates, Incorporated, 18 Bowden Circle, Suite 36, Newcastle, Delaware, 19720. Present zoning district is AC, Agriculture Conservation. Levy Court District is 4th, Mr. Buxton. School District is Caesar Rodney. Fire District is Magnolia, Station 55. Size of site is 78.54 acres, plus or minus. Number of proposed lots is 126 single-family lots. Open active space is 0.25 acres. Passive open space is 38.45 acres. Stormwater management area is 4.33 acres, plus or minus. Wetlands area is 12.69 acres. Total acreage within woodlands is 24.8 acres. Average lot size is 11,450 square feet, or 0.26 acres. Minimum lots area is 10,000 square feet, or 0.23 acres. Maximum lot area is 22,813 square feet, 0.52 acres. Maximum impervious coverage is 35%. Relation to the growth zone is inside. Proposed density is 1.60 dwelling units per acre. Water is public. Artesian utilities. Sewer is public. Kent County Sewer District Number 1. And I assume that Mr. Tolliver is all ready to the mic. And welcome, sir. You can be sworn or affirmed.
Address.
Phil Tolliver, 18 Bolden Circle, Newcastle, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, good evening.
Good evening. Did we get to see that picture again tonight that we looked at 14 years?
It's on its way. Trust me.
Just a little jovity till we get into it, and I know you've got a great presentation, so go ahead.
Sure. Well, I'll get right into it. With me tonight also is Derek Dickerson and Joe Collegero. They're representing also Shift Land Development. And we have a little presentation here, a PowerPoint presentation. Did you get that emailed to you? Yeah. You know, when I started making these presentations to the Planning Commission almost 20 years ago, I had brown hair and no glasses, and now it's falling out gray and I need glasses. So it is what it is. If you can't find it for whatever reason, I brought it on a flash drive just in case. Would that be helpful? Okay. There you go. There we go. Got it. Okay, so Patriots Crest, if we could go advance to the next slide. There you go. Very good, thank you. I'll take it from there. All right. All right, so the project is located on the north side of State Street, near the intersection of Locust Grove Road and Banning Road. Banning Road is basically right here. As was indicated before, the project is comprised of 78.54 acres. It's zoned AC. 126 single-family lots are being proposed. That gives you a density of 1.6 to the acre. The code actually allows 3 per acre in the AC zone, so we're roughly half of what the code allows for. You're required to have 0.87 acres of active open space. This actually says 2 acres of active open space. We're actually proposing 2.3 active acres of open space. 38.45 acres are being preserved in passive open space. And then you can see, as was indicated before, Kent County sewer, artesian water, and sidewalks would be on both sides of the road. In general, the property, if you look at the topographical maps, this is the high area of the site, and generally Mother Nature has the flow or the contours going back towards the creek, towards the northeast side of the property. Back in December 8th, 2020, the levy court voted to include this property in the Kent County Sewage Disposal District number 1. So that step's already been taken care of. The project that we are presenting tonight is what I would refer to as a by right project or a permitted use project. So it's not a conditional use. We're not asking for any special exceptions or things of that nature. It's a permitted use in the AC zoning district. Inside the growth zone, it's in level 2 investment for the state, which is where the state envisions growth to take place. The roads, and we've had this discussion before. Here's the road layout, and I remember having discussions over the years with the skinnier roads that we used to do with DelDOT, and they used to be 22 foot wide, remember? And so these roads are actually 24 foot wide with 2 foot mountable curbs on both sides. That gives you, in essence, a 28 foot traversable area. There was a TIS review prepared and approved by DelDOT. The developer is responsible for off-site intersection signal agreements and also contributing to the DelDOT improvements, which are going to be located at South State Street and Plain Dealing Road and Woodley Town. So he's part of those improvements which DelDOT required. You can see on this slide the orientation of the single-family lots. So, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, as you're coming into the community, one thing that we like to do is, as you're coming in, we like to have like an open space area that the roads terminate into, instead of coming into a community and immediately looking into somebody's driveway or somebody's front door. You're coming in and it kind of sends a subliminal message to people passing by here who might be interested in the community that, something interesting is going on back here. I refer to that as the invitability factor. So we can do some, and you'll see it coming up soon, we can do some nice landscaping features there as an entrance feature to invite people back into the community. All the roads, again, would be designed to DelDOT standards, so these curves and the cul-de-sac lengths and all those things are all per DelDOT standards. You can see on this slide the proposed landscaping. We're proposing landscaping along South State Street, landscaping along here, the westerly portion where the church is located, and then landscaping also in the middle of the project. What we tried to do is, you can see these open space village green areas. This is actually a rather large area right in the middle. It's bigger than a football field. So we try to connect these areas so that people can actually walk in the entire community via the sidewalks and then also via walking trails that come in, and then the walking trails go from here to the sidewalk and then throughout here. Same thing over here. You can see we have sidewalks and then walking trails that kind of tie all the village green areas together. We also had the sidewalk, or the walking trail in here kind of positioned to the right as to leave this whole area open. Reflecting back when we were kids, it's nice to have a nice open area to play football, frisbee, tag, whatever. and we didn't want the sidewalk running right through the middle of that grassed area. So we positioned it over to the side to maximize the green area.
While you're talking about that, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Around Troop 3, is there fencing proposed?
No, fencing and buffering is not required per the code on that side. Fencing is required, berming, or I beg your pardon, landscaping and a buffer was required per county code on the other side. To that point, when you read through the staff recommendation report, you'll see a couple of things about, well, one thing, that we were proposing berms in the landscaped areas. I just want to be clear on the record, the only berms, and you'll see in just a second, that we're proposing are parallel to South State Street. We're not proposing berms in this area or anywhere else. The berms are going to be right here along South State Street. Additionally, one thing I wanted to correct in the record, on our plans, I noticed that there was a drafting mistake on our landscape plan. We call for a fence along here. We don't want to do a fence there for a number of reasons, but we will meet the county code, and we're going to do landscaping in this buffer area to meet the county code, but there won't be any fence. So Sarah, when you guys see the final landscape plan, there's not going to be a fence on it. I just wanted to get that on the record. So when we advance through here, you'll see the famous berms that we like to do. There we go, from 14, 15, 20 years ago. This is a picture that I took back in 1995, by the way. I designed these berms back in 95, and they look nice. I mean, you do a berm so that it meanders side to side, up and down, varying heights, and then you put vegetation on top of it, instead of a synthetic man-made wall of dirt, basically. So that's kind of what we would propose to do here. If everyone's familiar with the Rookery Golf Course as you're driving down 113, those berms look rather nice. And so that's kind of what we're shooting for. So that would be located along South State Street. As we look at this view cone here, we can see a snapshot of where the internal site amenities would be located. And again, we're talking about the invitability factor, trying to bring our main entrance road in so that it terminates on a point of interest. So as you're coming in, we're thinking about gazebos or a gazebo at the entrance with benches, landscaping, and then connecting everything via the walking trail that we talked about before. That kind of meanders back to a tot lot here, connected with walking trails, gazebo, more walking trails, sidewalk, more walking trails to another village green area, and yet more open space and connected pathways back this way. So all the open space areas are kind of connected together, if you will. So you can kind of walk within the community. It's just a little neat, interesting feature that we tried to incorporate into the project.
And you do have a bus stop on this application?
Yes. Yeah, we have a bus stop. And what we're thinking in terms of the bus stop is initially, you know, when you look at the project, there's not going to be, you know, the whole project's not going to be developed at once. So you would develop it in a common sense, phasing, sequential way. So the bus stop originally would be out towards State Street, but as the development matures and the roads are built, we would envision moving the bus stop back here to a more centrally located location. And then you got a typical gazebo that we would propose on a tot lot in the other village green area. And that's the finished product and the completed rendering. We have read through the staff recommendation report, and in the staff recommendation report, you have a recommendation for approval from the staff, a conditional approval, and they list and enumerate requirements and then recommendations. So the requirements, obviously, are what the code requires you to do. This has been designed in accordance with the requirements in the code. So we're in full agreement with what the requirements say. The recommendations are just that. They're recommendations. They're not requirements. They're something that we usually, and you've heard me make many presentations, we usually do our best to accommodate the recommendations. In this case, there's a couple that I do need to talk about. So if you look at the recommendations, there's 6 of them to be exact. So the first recommendation, no problem. We can do that. It has to do with creating light districts and so forth. Yes, we agree to that. The second recommendation has to do with landscaping and when the landscaping is planted. The suggestion is to plant the street trees prior to certificate of occupancy. Not a bad idea. So yes, we agree with that one. The third one has to do with the frontage, the road frontage. And basically what the staff is talking about are these lots that have curved portions in front of the lot. And they've enumerated a few lots, a handful of lots that they would like to see a little wider at the right-of-way. So even though, that's a little bit, I don't want to say nitpicky, but it's fine. We're going to do that as well. Okay, so we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Number 4 has to do with the stormwater management pond and its proximity to the tidal wetland area back here. And the recommendation is to give a 100-foot buffer, which we can't give a 100-foot buffer. The code requires 25. That's what the code says. And when we embark upon a project like this, we use your code, the county code, as a blueprint, as a set of laws, as a set of rules that we have to abide by. And that's our instruction manual for doing this layout. So one thing that we can do is we can try our best to get as close to 100 as we can. And you know me, we're always about compromise. So I'm not going to say no, period, but I'm going to say I don't think we can give 100, but we'll do our best to maximize to the greatest extent possible the buffer. Even though the code says 100, we're going to try to give, I beg pardon, even though the code says 25, we're going to try to give more than that. And that's the compromise that I would offer. One thing I will say, we're really pinched right here. See this big green area? That green area between the backs of these lots and the pond. What's driving this pond from getting closer to the creek back there is this bulk utility standard that requires a 100-foot setback, which is more than anybody else in the state of Delaware. It's also more than anybody else. Maryland's got 24 counties, and I'm not aware of any county in Maryland that has a buffer like this from a rear property line. So that, in essence, required us to push this pond away from these rear lots deeper into the project, and we start to get pinched. So we're trying our best to try to maximize open space and minimize tree clearing and all those elements. And so the way that I would propose to handle number 4 is to say we will not go below 25 feet of buffer from the tidal wetlands because that's what the code says, but we will try to the maximum extent possible to give more than that, as much as we possibly can. So that would be my compromise on number 4. Do you want to talk about that any deeper, or should I go to number 5?
Sarah, do you have any comments on that?
Just some thoughts that perhaps will lead to further conversation before the business meeting. If part of what's impacting the location of the pond is the bulk utility standard, I don't understand why we couldn't give consideration to waiving that to get the additional buffer to the tidal wetland.
If you all are okay with waiving that, we could definitely transfer this grassed area this side, and we could give you 100 feet at that point.
Perhaps the commission would be willing to indulge the staff and the applicant coming up with something prior to the business meeting.
I think that would be quite appropriate as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if any other commissioners have a comment or not. I would say try to work it out.
Okay. That's a very reasonable request, and I'll get Ms. Kiefer an exhibit that reflects that in very short order.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, number 5. Again, when we set out to do a project like this, we're using what the code says we should do. And what number 5 references is these lots back here adjacent to the tidal area. So the code says, and I have it right here, it's section 187-78, subsection B, as it relates to water bodies, streams, and other water courses and riparian buffers. And it says, and I'm quoting, no building structures or paved surfaces, and this is an important point coming up, except stairs, ramps, fences, open decks, and patios or docks with a combined area of 200 square feet or less shall be permitted to be constructed nearer than 100 feet to the tidal wetland area, is what they're referring to. So they are permitting open decks, patios, and fences and ramps and stairs, but they're prohibiting buildings and structures. So that's what we've done. So we do have rear lot lines, which would be deed restricted, which would be my compromise. These lots back here, the rear of the lots would have a deed restriction on them. Not a big deal. I have a deed restriction on my personal house. Honestly, that's why I bought my lot where I did, because it's got woods on it in the back, and I can't clear those woods because there's an easement there. But that's why, ironically enough, why I bought that lot. So the people moving into the community will know well in advance that there's an easement on there, conservation easement, they can't clear into it, they can't put their house in it, etc. Deed restrictions, we can put them in the HOA documents, and we will put notations on the record plat to make sure that happens. So that would be my compromise, because we can't take that whole entire rear lot and move it completely out. Number one, because the code doesn't say that you have to do that, but then number two, that would wreck the entire sketch at that point.
I'd like Sarah to comment on that too, because I don't think we monitor deed restrictions, do we?
We do not. We don't enforce them. We only enforce our code. And it's our department who gets the dissatisfied homeowner years later when they can't put a shed in their backyard. So that's a bit more of a concern for us. It's all well and good to say homeowners will be aware of their deed restrictions, but honestly, in our experience, that is not the case. So I'm not certain that solves the concern.
It sounds like something we're going to have to really look at and talk about, and I don't know if you have any other suggestions between now and our business meeting to be able to come up with that.
I don't know between now and the business meeting if the county could update their code to
oh, no, that won't happen.
Require that. If it's a requirement, we're going to do it. We have to do it. But these recommendations that have wholesale changes like this, some of them are tough. I mean, you know me, I'll compromise as much as we possibly can. I've demonstrated that for the last 20 years. We just did it tonight. We're going to compromise on some things. But this one here, the code does allow, because it specifically says, and you can talk to your counsel, he's sitting right in front of you, Mr. Eliason. It clearly says that you can put stairs, ramps, fences, open decks, patios, and docks. Well, you can't have those elements that are permitted unless you have a lot line in the buffer, right? I mean, you're not going to have a patio without the patio being on the lot. So the implication in your own county code says that you can have lots in there, which is what we've done. So I'm just simply, as a compromise, I'm trying to say, well, follow what the code says. And in addition to that, we will give deed restrictions. We will give marketing. We can even put some marketing information together that said they're going to be deed restricted when the homes are sold. We can put it in the HOA docs. There's a number of ways to regulate that.
I have a question of, staff. So what couldn't be put there? You couldn't put a shed even if the shed doesn't have a...
Can't put a shed there. You can put there exactly what he listed.
The shed would be up on blocks.
You can put there exactly what he listed.
Is there some way you can send us through emails or something, what can be in that particular area? So we'll have a chance to look at it. I don't know if I have it here or not.
Are those lot sizes that's being affected by this discussion, are they larger, wider, anything like that than most of the other?
That is
I'm just thinking, a shed would be something that, we have one at our house. That could it fit on the side of a house or, something like that is what's going through my mind. If the lots were a little wider.
For the most part, the lots are slightly larger than required. Some of them are approaching 11,000 square feet. Many of them are close to 10,000, but they're all larger than they need to be per code. And just for the record, we're okay with nothing being built in that area. I mean, the code does allow for just what I said, patios and decks and things of that nature. We're okay with the wholesale deed restriction that says you can't put anything in there.
It is a great point of discussion. I know it's hard on your part not to do anything or redesign the development for that particular area because you'd have to reduce your lots, and I know the lots equal what you can make and the profit it would be for the ownership. So,
and because I'm stupid, so what is the reason for this buffer? Is it environmentally regarding the water? I mean, I'm assuming
yes.
It is.
And again, we're okay with not developing any of it.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
I think you probably understand that we don't monitor deed restrictions and all like that and what they can and can't build. So I think staff has a great point that those lots actually aren't equitably as good a lots as the other lots in development for what people can do. So we'll have to, I think it's something we'll have to work on. I don't know if there's any suggestions or whatever between now and then.
Sure. And again, I'm just pointing out for the last time, and then I'll shut up about this matter. This is code compliant. We're doing exactly by law what the code says we can do.
Okay. So go ahead with your presentation, and we'll have to talk. I got a feeling about number 5 during the week or whatever we can come up with.
Number 6, yeah, I mean, we don't want to plant any trees back in here. The comment was to do some kind of a no maintenance cover of some sort, and we agree with that. We're not going to have the HOA back here cutting this. So we would propose to plant it with a meadow seed mixture, let it go fallow. Over time, the thing's going to generate itself into a forest, honestly.
And I think that area in the back at the top left, you're donating that to the county for use for a possible future pumping station?
This would be a pump station, correct. Donated to the county, yes.
Yeah, I saw that on the plans when I was reviewing them.
Yep. The only other one, and this is another concession that we're willing to make, was the waiver request for stub roads. In the letter on page 6, waiver requests, if we go through the strictest interpretation of what the code says, we would have stub roads out here to the marsh area. That obviously would make no sense. We also requested originally a waiver from this church property because it's already been developed with a church on it, but the county pointed out that this back section is rather large, and they're trying to be forethoughtful that potentially this back 30 acres could one day be developed, which is, again, it's a reasonable comment to make. So what we're going to do, we're going to agree with that. We're going to pop in a stub road. We'll line it up with this road right here, and it'll be a stub road to connect into this, which will address what the county's looking for.
That'd be a great place to put those houses that we're talking about that are such a problem.
Maybe I'll contact the church tomorrow and see if they're interested.
Just a suggestion. Like you said, compromise for everything.
It is. I mean, we've gone through and we've enumerated a lot of different recommendations, and we've agreed to capitulate on every single one except for the one. So that's the, in essence, that is our presentation. Just to close, it's a by right plan, and the county staff did recommend approval, conditional approval, and we would also respectfully request approval of the preliminary plan. That's all I have.
As always, Mr. Tolliver, thank you for your presentations and your quotes on what you talked. Now I'll open it up to the commissioners up front here first for questions.
Yeah, I have one.
I think Denise had her hand up first. Go ahead, Denise.
I'll let anyone who can give me an answer for me. I've been here a long time listening to everything that goes up on South State Street and the roads, and I've learned, listened to people over the years. I don't live in the area. But, every time a subdivision comes up, the first thing that goes through my mind is that we're adding insult to injury with regards to the road. I know it has nothing to do with us. I understand that. My question is, do you have any secret information about DelDOT and how things are coming along with?
No, and I would not presume to know what DelDOT is thinking.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mills?
Yeah, the question I have, I'm with the School Bus Association, and I know you addressed the bus stop in there, but it's in the future, whenever you get enough houses built in there. State Street's probably one of the most highest dangerous roads there is in Kent County for picking up kids. And even though you only got one to pick up, it's dangerous for them to have to cross that road. Now, I don't see on the map where it says that there's going to be a school bus stop other than that pavilion that you showed on the map and said, and you did address it, and I appreciate that, and I did read it in these papers that we got here, that it would be. But where and how is a bus going to get in and get turned around and get back out on that State Street again is my concern. And that's not being addressed.
Excellent question. So one of the first phases that we would propose is your spine road coming in, and in Delaware you have to abide by the DNREC rule of 20 acres. So we can't open up more than 20 acres at a time. Roughly, we would be able to come in, take a left-hand turn, and complete either this half or this quadrant, let's say, to give some kind of an access back. So you come up, you take a left, and then you come back out. Or we could do up to the right, up and to the right, and then back out. So one of those two areas, either the left area or the right area, would be one of the first phases to develop, thus giving the turnaround ability that you're referencing.
How far will the first part of the phase of the development go back?
It would go back to this turnaround area.
Street is?
Yeah.
Back to that street?
Yes.
I don't know whether the transportation supervisor notified on this, because that was part of our last development that we talked about, that from then on that school bus the transportation supervisors would all be notified and put their approval on this.
They were notified.
Was that done?
Yes.
Is that Cedar Rodney?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Mr. Peterman?
My question is, the lot's just a pinch over a quarter acre lot. How many, do you have sizes for a house size? How many square foot it's going to be on there? Because I also think that they're going to need possibly a utility shed there to put their lawnmower in there, or garden tools or whatever, instead of having them backyard. And I want to make sure that everybody that needs one of those sheds to get one. Thank you. And the other question I had is that Artisans, you said it was going to be the water company for that development, correct? Now, is that going to be coming out of Magnolia? I don't know if the Magnolia Tower is Artisans or it's a well. Would that be coming off Magnolia's water?
There's an existing high-pressure water main located in South State Street with more than sufficient capacity to serve the needs of this project. Where their supply well is, I don't know. But there is a high-pressure water main, and it's got very good pressure and capacity in the main, more than enough to serve our needs, and that's what we'll be tying into.
Thank you.
Is there any commissioners on the phone that have a question? Any commissioners on the phone?
Sir, and just because you also had a question about the house size. So the house sizes would be, I'm speculating, 2,500 square feet and more, perhaps. That's approximate. They would have garages, likely a 2-car garage. So you'd be able to store lawn implements and so forth in your garage. So, if that helps.
Is that okay, Mr. Peterman?
Yeah, you have more room to collect more junk.
There you go. The more you have, the more you collect. Anybody, any commissioners, Mark, on the phone, have any questions for this engineer? Seeing none, it's always a pleasure, Mr. Tolliver. Thank you very much for your presentation. And we'll be taking this up next week. I'm going to ask and open up to the audience. Is there anybody else here in favor of this project and would like to speak? Anybody else in favor? I'm going to the against side. Is there anybody here that's against this project and would like to speak? Come to the microphone. Please give me your name and your address, and you can be either sworn or affirmed.
My name is Daniel Deckard. My address is 144 Golden Oak Drive, Camden, Delaware.
Sir, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Proceed.
Go right ahead with your comments, sir.
Okay, I've been a Delaware resident for 45 years, and since 1994, my wife and I have lived on Golden Oak Drive, and Golden Oak Drive is on the southeast side of the state police barracks. It's a little dead-end road. It's only 4 houses along it. But the thing that concerns me is that in the 45 years I've lived here in Kent County, as you well know, there's been thousands of acres of farmland that have been converted to housing developments. And a lot of that farmland was the most fertile land in the state of Delaware, which is also in the growth zone. The thing that struck me today when I looked at the zoning and planning website for the county is there's a survey listed on basically your website, and the question on the survey, you're probably somewhat familiar with this. The website's pretty extensive, but the question on the survey is, what do you think? This was a survey asked to Kent County residents. I don't know how many respondents there were. It doesn't indicate how many there were, but the question was, what do you think the county's top priority should be in terms of open space and resource protection? The question, or the response to that question, the most common answer, the number one answer, was the preservation of farmland. And it seems to me that the preservation of farmland has no priority whatsoever if it happens to be in the growth zone. And that seems to be in contrast with the wishes of Kent County residents. Another thing that concerns me is the fact that there's already hundreds of approved building lots on home sites or what's going to be home sites in the future that have been approved already. And in fact, you can see some of those on the right side of that graphic that's up there, which is less than a few hundred yards away. There's also home sites up Banning Road that have been approved for development up around fairly near to the new school in Cesar Roney District. I believe it's an elementary school, not a middle school. But I would love to know how many home sites are already approved in Kent County in the growth zone in this area already. How many hundreds of home sites have already been approved before another 126 are approved? And it almost seems like if a development is proposed in the growth site, it almost seems like there's no discussion concerning it. It seems to just get automatically get a stamp of approval. And I realize there's more people living in Kent County every year. I realize that they need a place to live. And I realize that those homes have to be built. But it just seems that those home sites are already there. They're right now they're in soybeans and corn, but they're already approved for what I call high-density housing. That might not be the correct name, but they're approved for home developments. So I hope the commission and the levy court and the final decision on this, I hope they take into account just how many home sites are already out there, already approved, just have not been built yet before approving another 126. And finally, for one other practical concern that does concern me, there are homes around there that have shallow wells. I have a shallow well. It's about 40 feet deep. The water table is at about 15 feet below the surface. And with another 126 homeowners putting herbicides and pesticides on their lawn and shrubbery, and the runoff from 250 vehicles or more that obviously the chemicals concern me. When it was farmland, as it is right now, farmers are obviously concerned about cost and they're concerned about how many chemicals they're putting out there. But homeowners may or may not be. 126 homeowners, nobody's going to be monitoring what chemicals they're putting on their lawns, etc. But I guess I can have a deeper well built to get into a different aquifer if I don't want to worry about chemicals in the shallow aquifers. But those are my concerns, and apparently they're the concerns of other Delaware residents, Kent County residents. Even though they're not here tonight, the respondents said that the preservation of farmland is of paramount concern. On your own website, that's what it says. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Like you said, there is a Farm Preservation Act that the Department of Agriculture takes care of, and farmers are offered the opportunity to buy out the rights for development. But then again, you have the growth zone like the county has created and we have made over the years, and that's where things are directed to be built because of infrastructure in place, like the sewer and the water, like Mr. Tolliver talked about. And you've seen here in the last couple years, we've even built a school out off of Banning Road out there in front of the highway department. So you are in an area that is potentially a larger growth area. And with the building of the homes, like you said, I'm a farmer too. And the nicest soils over that way not only offer the opportunity for farmers to produce great crops, but also offer the opportunity for developers that they don't have to worry about the runoffs. And they have to worry about the runoffs, but not the type of soils that they're building on. So you have some great points there and all, and until we can find a way to justify the Preservation Act that would pay them as much as a development, these farmers are going to continue to sell their land off for development. And I don't know how to stop that, because the other issue is, like you said, the traffic, and DelDOT is behind the curve on that. The South State Street should have been improved 20 years ago. So I think you had great points, and I certainly appreciate your time and your effort, and especially looking at our website. I think that's very, very intelligent on your part to do that and to bring that out tonight. And I thank you for your presentation. Does anybody up here have any questions for this gentleman? Any commissioners on the phone?
I don't have no questions, but I want to tell you, your presentation was great, because if people don't realize what a shallow well is and what it can absorb when it's overloaded. The farmers also put a lot of pesticides, insecticides, sprays, and material for faster growth and all. But one thing they do, they go into non-till, no-till, instead of plowing, discing, drag hair and all that now. So that will help filter a whole lot of that, but none of it's 100%.
Right.
I just want to thank you for your presentation. It's good information.
Well, thank you for those responses. And the final thing I'd just like to say does concern the highway issue. I typically spend about 5 minutes, if I'm coming out the lane and turning towards Magnolia, I'll typically spend about 5 minutes there waiting for a clear spot in both directions. A couple of days ago, I spent 10 minutes waiting. It was probably just because it was kind of the morning rush. But I guess the highway department will address that at some point. But thank you for your time and responses.
We've had numbers of issues. We've done many projects where the traffic has always been a questionable thing from between your place and Route 13 as things are changed over or zonings are changed. Thank you again, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else here that is opposed to this project and would like to speak? Third and final call. Anyone else here opposed to this project? Anybody online opposed to the project and would like to speak?
Hands raised on WebEx at this time.
Thank you then. We'll take this project up next week. We're now down to public comment. Does anybody in the public like to comment? Seeing none, is there any commissioner comments? I did notice tonight with the time change coming up this weekend, this is the last time we'll see the sunshine until the springtime of the year. We'll be coming in the dark and going home in the dark. So be careful when you're out there. Any other business to bring before the commission? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sarah, please call the commission.
Before I do that, can I just remind everybody, next week we do not meet on Thursday, we meet on Wednesday night. Next week we meet Wednesday night, not Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, that's the 10th. It says on your particular sheet.
Good job.
Thank you, sir. Some commissioners don't read that.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Please call the commission on the adjourn motion, please.
Mr. Peterman.
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Servan.
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher.
Yes.
Mr. Mills.
Yes, to adjourn.
Mr. Spanarelli.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Davis, you can press *6 to unmute.
To adjourn.
Mr. Jester.
Yes to adjourn. And thank you all. And Mr. Spanarelli, we wish you and keep praying for you to improve. Thank you very much.